Hello everybody and good morning. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So we are going over chapter 4 of Good Leaders Ask Great Questions by John Maxwell. But before we get started, we're going to go ahead and invite some people onto here. All right. So, chapter 4. So what must I do to lead myself successfully? So a lot of people, or a common question that people ask is, why is it so hard to lead myself rather than it is to lead others? So one of the reasons is we have this hard time leading ourselves is because we have blind spots that prevent us from seeing what the problems really are. So blind spots are where people fail to see themselves or situations realistically, but everybody has them, but very few people recognize them. Sometimes it takes another person to be able to show you, hey, this is something that you're, this is a weakness of yours, but something that needs to be brought to light. So we see ourselves by our intentions that often give us a false impression of who we are and what we do, and we give ourselves the benefit of the doubt because we put ourselves into context. So on the other hand, with others, in light of their actions. So for the reason that we seem to be more objective when judging others. So when it's us, you don't really see it, and we kind of give all the excuses and we give reasons why we're not doing what we're doing, and we try to justify our actions. But when it's other people, we look at their actions and then we judge them and say, well, this is something you need to work on. So foremost common and destructive blind spots among leaders. Number 1, a singular perspective. If the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. So having a singular perspective might be if a singular perspective might be a problem for you, here's a couple of things you need to ask. No matter how the conversations begin, you end up talking about your favorite subject. So if you're in a group of people and we're talking about something else, but you try to bring the conversation to being about you or something that you like, you keep giving us the same speech, lecture, or the piece of advice over and over again. Or you're always right and you're always right. So whenever people try to talk with you, and they might not even be asking for your advice, but you try to give it to them anyway, because you have this feeling that you're always right, and you think you are. Your focus is narrow and you're not even aware of it. So as a leader, you need to make an effort of seeing things from different points of view for people. Number 2, insecurity. So insecure leaders limit their people and their organizations. So they spend more time worrying about themselves and how people are looking at them, and they get threatened when other people start to rise up. So how do you know if insecurity is a problem for you? Well, the first one is, do you have a hard time giving other people credit? So insecure people need credit, and it bothers them when they need to share it. do you keep information from your team? Withholding information is withholding trust. It's protecting your position. However, you need to give others information, and you need to empower them as well as communicate trust and confidence in them. And that's what it is when you're giving information to everybody else. You're showing that you trust them and have confidence that they can do something. When you withhold all that information, you're not going to be able to do that. Do you try to keep your team away from good leaders? Do you feel like if other leaders are around your team, you're scared that people are going to steal them? That's an insecurity thing. Are you threatened by the growth of others, and do you often micromanage others? So micromanaging, that comes from the desire to take credit for everything. Number 3, an out of control ego. There are some warning signs that you might be an egotistical leader. So the first one is do you think no one else can do your job as well as you can? Are others to blame when things go wrong? Do you disregard the ideas of others, and do you often put other people down? So egotistical leaders don't look for input or answers from anyone other than themselves. Number 4, a weak character. Character is putting the right values and actions every day. So to answer these questions, so you know if your character is weak and is holding you back. So the first one, do you often miss the deadlines? Do you make vows, resolutions, or decisions to change and then go back to your old behavior? Do you place more importance on pleasing others than you do on maintaining the values you support? Are you willing to shave or shade the truth in order to get out of a tough spot? And do you do what's easiest even when you know it's not the best? And do others show reluctance to trust you? If you answer yes to any of these questions, there may be an area of character that you need some work on. So how do you overcome your blind spots? Number 1, you need to assume that you have blind spots, because everybody has them, and assuming that you don't have any is not good. Because like I said earlier, sometimes you don't even recognize that you have these blind spots, and you need somebody else to come in and tell you. Number 2, ask those you know to best identify your blind spots. So I just said that, but you're looking for honesty, and when somebody's honest with you, you don't need to get mad at them, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, I want this answer, but then you have somebody who's like, okay, well, do you want me to lie to you, or do you want me to tell you the truth? Sometimes the truth hurts, but the truth is what's going to make you grow, and you don't grow without a little bit of pain, and that's just how it is. Number 3, assume blind spots can't be removed by you alone. Sometimes you need to identify and deal with them with another person, so that way they can help you through the journey, because sometimes it's a difficult task, and when you're used to doing something and it's a habit of yours, you need to change that habit into a good habit, and sometimes it takes a little bit of help. Number 4, openly discuss your blind spots with your inner circle. Number 5, develop and empower a team to cover your blind spots. So you may eventually be able to overcome many of your blind spots, but until then, make sure your team prevents them from derailing you or the team. So making sure like recruiting your weaknesses. In the beginning, you're going to recruit the people. You're always going to recruit the people that are like you, not what you want. So that one can be very difficult when you're trying to recruit. However, depending on who else is in the room, you need to make it a conscious effort to really make sure that you're the best version of yourself when you're working with your team, because they're going to mimic everything that you're doing as well as attract those same people. So, next part, what gives a leader sustainability? So in other words, how do you keep yourself from burning out? A lot of people tend to, like, there just gets to be a point everywhere, whether it's network marketing, a job, you name it, like, people do get burnt out from time to time, but how do you keep from doing that? Number one is passion. Passion gives you two things: energy and credibility. So when you love what you do, people find it inspiring, and that was something that John said, and I slightly disagree with that. 90% of the work that it takes to become successful is work that you are not gonna like to do, and some people might hate it. However, it's not the work that you need to be passionate about, it's the dream that you need to be passionate about, because when you focus on the dream, that's what people get inspired by. And then it doesn't matter what the work is. People are willing to work hard for the dream, not necessarily the tasks every single day. Number two, principles. Successful leaders stay true to their principles, to their beliefs and gifts, and their personality. So be yourself, but be the best version of yourself. It took John 8 years to really develop his speaking personality, like his own personality to the way he speaks. It took 8 years to develop that. So, but just working on what is your style when you're speaking and when you're working with people, and eventually it just becomes comfortable. Number three, practices. Successful people do daily what unsuccessful people do occasionally. So their daily disciplines are, they practice daily disciplines, they implement systems for their personal growth, and they make it a habit to maintain a positive attitude. And all that sounds really easy, but it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. But it also takes breaking down what is it that you're going to be doing every single day and just maintaining that. Number four, people. The people around you will either wind you up or they're going to wear you down. So bringing a positive support team around you. You want to get a group of people that are believers. So people who believe in you and the vision. Achievers, people who are going to contribute to the team with excellence. Conceivers, people who are going to bring good ideas to the table. And relievers, people who are going to complement your skills and abilities. So what are the most important values for the leader? Well, the first one is servanthood. We've heard this multiple times. Leading well means you need to be serving others. Purpose. Let your why direct your what. So until you know your purpose, you're not going to know where you need to go, and you're going to get off track. There's a book on being the best version of yourself, of self-development. Well, if you remember that book, put it in the comments, because I'm sure there's quite a few people who would like to read it. I would probably read it too, because you never can have too much information on that. So if you remember the title of the book, be sure to put that in the comments, Stephen. Anywho, integrity. Live the life before you lead others. So lead by example is not do what I say, not as I do, because people don't do what you say, they're going to do what they see. So when you become a leader, you must focus more on the relationship responsibilities than your rights, and you must rise to the standards, and you must do more than you expect of others. And if you live the life first and lead well, others will respect you, and the chances are that they will be willing to follow you. So lead by example first, because if you do not do that, people are not going to do it, because they do not do what you say. They're going to do what they're seeing. Relationships. Walk slowly through the crowd. Take the time to go talk with people. I know it's hard right now, because right now we used to do this at events. Like we would always, I heard different leaders talk about this. They're like, whenever we go to an event, we walk slowly through the crowd, answer questions, go talk to people, and ask questions too, because this is the time where relationships get built, and you as a leader need to spend time with your people, because your people aren't always going to come to you. Sometimes you need to go to them. And right now, with everything being digital, it's a little bit harder to do, but just reaching out to people and just asking questions. Hey, how are you today? Like Jeff has the agent profile of questions that you ask people when they first begin, but then also checking up on people and just saying hi and really building those relationships with people. And then the last one, renewal, replenish yourself daily, and how are you taking care of yourself? And I lied, that was not the last one I thought it was. There is more. This was a long chapter, guys. Like, it just kept going and going, but there is a lot of great information. But renewal and replenishing yourself daily is how are you taking care of yourself? A lot of you already know that Jeff and I are both doctors of naturopathy, and we were taught 5 areas of health. There's nutrition, hydration, exercise, sleep, and your emotions. You need to address all 5 of them, because if one of them is out of balance or if one of them is not being done very well, you're not going to be able to function properly. And if you don't feel good, it's going to affect your work. What is the most effective daily habits for any leader to develop? And the answer is giving more than you're receiving. So how does one change one's heart to increase the desire to add value to others to serve? So you need to be open yourself up to people and not be afraid of getting hurt. Rather than being closed off to people, you need to be open enough to people where you can be of value to them and how you can serve them. If I am reaching goals and achieving success, why should I take care of developing myself as a leader? Growth is a great separator of those who succeed long-term and those who do not. If you stop growing, you're not going to succeed, because you may be setting new goals, but you don't have the skills to be able to achieve those goals. So the plan for growth requires setting aside time to grow, determine your area of growth, where are your weaknesses, where do you need to work on, find resources in your areas of growth, and apply what you learn daily. How do you lead with humility when the tough corporate world views it as a weakness? Humility doesn't mean weak. It just humility. Sorry.
Humility is also bad. But.
Yeah, humility is also bad, but you know what I was trying to say. But it doesn't mean that it just means that you're thinking less of yourself. How transparent should you be? Is it okay for the team to know personal challenges? And John used an example of cancer. So as you weigh whether or not to tell people bad news, the question you need to ask yourself is, why are you telling it? Are you doing it for the good of the team? Are you communicating to connect with people and to try to encourage them? Or are you doing it because you hope people will pick you up? If it's the last reason, it's a bad reason. It's okay to let people know if you're struggling with something and you're going to be a little weird for a while. Like, if people can, because people can sense if something's not right, and people tend to get worried. But it's okay to tell people if something's going on, like if you're sick, if a kid's sick, if something's going on, if somebody passed away in the family. It's okay to let people know, just so that way your team's not worried something else is happening. But otherwise, if you're just doing it to talk about it, or as John puts it, let people know and then carry on. Otherwise, if you keep constantly bringing it back up, you risk wearing your people out with your personal challenges. Because, there's always that one person that we've ran into at an event where they have all these problems, but every time you see them for the past year, they only talk about those problems, and people get worn out and they don't want to be around you anymore. It's okay to share it, just don't keep repeating it. The leadership process is a long journey and lasts a lifetime, but how can I overcome the loneliness I sometimes feel? Leadership can be lonely, because it's the leaders who have to go first and they have to carry the weight. So sometimes that is a journey that gets carried alone. However, John recommends finding that one person who loves you unconditionally. This isn't a person who is necessarily in the industry, although thankfully I have that person. He's already here, so he understands it. But this doesn't always have to be somebody who's in your industry, but somebody who's just going to support you. And when you're going through these times, it's just somebody who can listen. So how can leaders develop the ability to filter their emotions to make good leadership decisions? You need to do your homework. Make sure that you have all the information that you need and that you're not missing anything. Number 2, list your opinions and where your options and where they can lead. Number 3, seek advice from the right people, because you don't need to go to your broke uncle and ask them how to run a business. That doesn't work. If you're asking advice from people, you need to go to the people who are doing what you're trying to achieve, and make sure that you're getting the right advice, because people can give advice anywhere, but until they've actually gone through it, they can't help you. And sometimes that's hard for people to comprehend. But number 4, listen to your instincts. And number 5, make decisions based on principles and values that you believe in. So with that, those are a lot of questions that he asked in this chapter. It's a lot of self-reflecting of just where are you at, and asking other people where, oh, thank you. So we just got a link for that other book in the comments, so if you guys would like to look at that. But that is what I have for this chapter. It was a long chapter, but it was a great chapter. So with that, I know I took forever. Do you have any comments of what you got?
Not on that one. You covered, all the details. So with that, chapter 5, Manana, is what we'll be going over.
Okay. And if you guys would like these notes, we're taking notes on each chapter. We're going to go ahead and post them in the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. So if you haven't joined that yet, you go ahead and join that group for those notes. And this will also be uploaded to YouTube, so you're welcome to follow us there as well. But with that, that's what we have for you today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.